Ma'am, turn around. Hands behind your back.
Please, I'm pregnant. I need
Stop
help.
talking. Turn around.
I'm not resisting. I'm pregnant. Something's wrong.
Turn around now. Do not move.
Please, I need help.
Angela Brooks woke up at 6:47 a.m. on April 14th with a to-do list and a baby kicking against her ribs. She had 3 errands before her afternoon shift at the department store. Pick up the crib mattress from Bye Bye Baby, grab the organic prenatal vitamins her doctor recommended, and stop by Target for the newborn diapers that were finally back in stock. Normal things. Boring things. The kind of Saturday morning tasks that make up the unglamorous reality of preparing to become a mother. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, hands cradling the 7-month curve of her belly, and smiled at the tiny foot pressing against her palm from the inside. "Okay, little one," she whispered, "let's get your room ready." Before we dive deeper into this absolutely shocking story, I need you to do something. I'd drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from. Your country, your state, wherever you are, and if you believe in holding authority figures accountable when they abuse their power, hit that subscribe button. By 9:15 a.m., she'd already checked 2 items off her list. The crib mattress was secured in her trunk with bungee cords. The vitamins were tucked into her purse. She was walking through the Target parking lot with a cart full of diapers, wipes, and a pack of receiving blankets she couldn't resist when it happened. The first pain. It wasn't the normal Braxton Hicks contractions she'd been experiencing for weeks. This was different. Sharp. Deep. A sudden tightening that wrapped around her abdomen like a vice and stole the air from her lungs. Angela stopped mid-step, but one hand shooting out to grip the side of her cart, the other instinctively pressing against her stomach. She waited, breathed. The pain ebbed. "Okay," she told herself, "you're fine. You're okay." But by the time she reached her car, the second wave hit. Harder, longer. Angela fumbled with her keys, dropping them once before managing to pop the trunk. She needed to load the bags. She needed to sit down. She needed to breathe. The third contraction brought her to her knees. She caught herself against the bumper, the metal digging into her palms, her breath coming in short, desperate gasps. Something was wrong. This wasn't labor. This was wrong. The pain was radiating now, spreading through her lower back, and when she looked down, her vision swimming, she saw it. A dark, wet stain spreading across the front of her grey sweatshirt. Yet not sweat. Blood. "No, no, no." Angela's voice cracked. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. She managed to pull herself upright, using the edge of the trunk, leaning heavily against the open hatch, one arm wrapped around her belly, the other clinging to the car like a lifeline. She needed help. She needed her phone. She needed someone to see her, to understand that she wasn't just in pain. She was in real danger. That's when she heard it. The sharp chirp of a police siren, the crunch of tires on asphalt, the metallic click of a car door opening behind her, and Officer Daniel Reeves saying, in a voice that expected immediate compliance, "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle and put your hands where I can see them." 60 feet away, behind the tinted windows of a white Lexus SUV, and Carol Zimmerman was already on the phone with 911. She'd been sitting in her car for the past 7 minutes, scrolling through her phone after finishing her own shopping, when she noticed the woman by the sedan. "Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious person in the Target parking lot on Riverside Drive," Carol said, her voice tight with that particular blend of concern and certainty that comes from never having been told you're wrong. "There's a black woman who's been lingering by a vehicle for several minutes. She keeps looking around, leaning into the trunk. I don't know, it just doesn't look right." The dispatcher asked if the woman appeared to be in distress. Carol hesitated. She could be pretending. She's bent over, but she could be hiding something. I've seen those videos online. People create distractions, and then, I just think someone should check it out." The call was logged at 9:47 a.m. Suspicious person. Possible vehicle tampering. Black female, grey hoodie, dark pants, acting erratically near a dark-colored sedan. 3 minutes later, Officer Daniel Reeves received the dispatch on his MDT. He was 2 blocks away, cruising through a residential area where he'd already run plates on 4 vehicles that morning. Nothing. It had been a slow Saturday, the kind of shift where you start looking for something, anything, to justify the badge. Reeves read the call summary twice. Suspicious person, acting erratically, possible tampering. He clicked his acknowledgement and pulled a U-turn, flipping on his lights as he accelerated toward the target. His jaw tightened. He'd worked this district for 6 years, and he knew the parking lot well. Retail theft had been up. Car break-ins were a constant problem, and acting erratically usually meant drugs, mental health crisis, or someone casing vehicles for valuables. As he turned into the parking lot, Reeves was already running scenarios. Non-compliant subject, possible flight risk. He needed to establish control immediately, maintain visual contact, watch the hands. That's what the training said. Control the situation before it controls you. He spotted her immediately, grey hoodie, dark pants, leaning against a vehicle with the trunk open. Exactly as described, Reeves didn't see a pregnant woman in medical distress. He saw a subject matching the description of a suspicious person call. He saw someone bent over a trunk in a way that could be concealing something. And he saw a potential problem that needed to be neutralized. He pulled up behind her vehicle, positioning his cruiser to block any escape route. His hand went to his belt, fingers brushing the grip of his taser, his radio, his cuffs. The familiar tools of de-escalation through compliance. Reeves stepped out of his vehicle and moved forward with the confidence of someone who had made this approach 1,000 times before. He had absolutely no idea he was about to become the defendant in a case that would define the rest of his career. "Mom, step away from the vehicle and put your hands where I can see them." Angela turned her head, still gripping the edge of the trunk, and saw the uniform. Relief flooded through her pain. Help, thank God. Someone was here to help. "Officer," she gasped, her voice strained, "please, I need an ambulance. I'm 7 months pregnant and something's wrong. I'm bleeding. Mom, I need you to step away from the vehicle right now." Reeves' voice cut through her words like a blade. His hand was already positioned on his belt, his stance wide, authoritative. "Put your hands where I can see them." Angela blinked, confusion momentarily overriding the pain. "What? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm having a medical emergency. Please, I need help. Step away from the vehicle." Each word was deliberate, commanding. Reeves moved closer, his eyes scanning the trunk, her hands, the waistband of her pants. "You're making me repeat myself." "I can't." Angela's knees buckled slightly, and she caught herself against the car again. She turned her body to face him fully, both hands now visible, one pressed against her swollen belly. "Look at me. I'm pregnant. Something's wrong with my baby. I need medical—" "I can see you're upset, Mom, but you need to comply with my instructions." Reeves took another step forward. "What are you doing out here? Why are you leaning into this vehicle?" "It's my vehicle." Angela's voice cracked with desperation. "I was shopping. I was loading my car and I started having pains. Officer, please, I'm begging you, call an ambulance. I think I'm losing my baby." "Do you have ID?" Reeves' hand moved to his radio. "Is this your vehicle? I'm going to need you to show me registration and—" "I don't care about registration." Angela's vision was blurring now, tears mixing with the pain. She held up one shaking hand, palm out, the universal gesture of surrender. "I am a human being in a medical crisis. I am 7 months pregnant. I am bleeding. I am asking you, as another human being, to get me help before my baby dies." Reeves saw the raised hand differently. He saw a woman being verbally aggressive, refusing to follow simple commands, potentially creating a scene that could escalate. He saw someone who was supposed to be complying, but instead was arguing, explaining, resisting his authority with words instead of obedience. "Mom, you're being belligerent." His voice hardened. "Turn around and place your hands on the vehicle. Now." "Belligerent?" Angela could barely form the word. Another wave of pain ripped through her abdomen and she doubled over, a guttural sound escaping her throat. Reeves moved fast. In his mind, she was dropping to reach for something, hiding her hands, refusing to comply. His training kicked in. Establish control, ensure officer safety. I neutralized the threat. He was already reaching for his handcuffs as he closed the distance between them. "Turn around, hands behind your back. Do it now, or I will do it for you." Angela felt his hands on her shoulders before she could process what was happening. Rough, forceful, spinning her around so that her chest was pressed against the side of her car, her pregnant belly crushed against the metal. "No, wait, please." Her words came out in gasps. "You're hurting. The baby." "Stop resisting." Reeves grabbed her right wrist, yanking it behind her back. The pain was immediate and electric. Angela screamed, not the controlled cry of someone being dramatic, but the raw, primal sound of a body being pushed past its breaking point. Her arm was being forced into a position her pregnant body couldn't accommodate, with the angle pulling against muscles already stretched and stressed by 7 months of carrying another life. "I'm not resisting," she sobbed. "I'm pregnant. You're hurting my baby." Reeves secured the first cuff with a metallic click. "Give me your other hand. Now." "I can't." Angela's left hand was still pressed against her stomach, trying to protect, trying to hold together what felt like it was tearing apart inside her. "Please, please don't do this." He grabbed her left wrist and wrenched it backward. Angela's knees gave out completely. She sagged against the car, held upright only by Reeves's grip on her arms and the unforgiving metal at her chest. The second cuff clicked into place, and suddenly both her hands were locked behind her back. Useless, unable to cradle her belly, unable to catch her fall, unable to do anything but shake. "Officer, what the hell are you doing?" A woman's voice cut through the parking lot. Someone was watching. Someone was seeing this. Reeves didn't turn. "Mom, stay back. This is police business. She's pregnant. She's clearly in distress." Another voice, male this time. A small crowd was beginning to form, shoppers abandoning their carts, phones being pulled from pockets, cameras being raised. "Everyone needs to step back," Reeves barked. He pulled Angela away from her vehicle, steering her toward his patrol car. Her legs weren't working properly. She was dragging, stumbling, gasping for air between sobs. The body cam on Reeves's chest captured it all, every angle, every word. He used the image that would later be played in courtrooms and news broadcasts across the country. A pregnant black woman in handcuffs, her grey hoodie stained with blood, being perp-walked through a Target parking lot while she begged for medical help. "My baby," Angela whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, someone help my baby." Reeves opened the back door of his patrol car. "Watch your head." He guided her into the cage, her handcuffed arms trapped behind her, her belly pressed forward against her thighs in a position no pregnant woman should ever be forced into. The door slammed shut with the finality of a cell closing. Through the window, Angela's face was visible to every witness, every camera, every person who would later ask themselves how this could happen in broad daylight in America. She wasn't a criminal. She was a mother losing her child while wearing handcuffs. Stop right here for a second. If this story is making you feel something, anger, disbelief, heartbreak, I need you to do 2 things. First, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Your city, your state, your country. Second, if you believe that being pregnant should never make you a target, hit that subscribe button. Because this story is about to get worse before it gets better. Angela couldn't breathe. The back seat of the patrol car was a cage designed for criminals who could sit upright, who weren't 7 months pregnant, who didn't have their arms locked behind them in a position that made every breath feel like swallowing broken glass. She tried to adjust, to shift her weight. But the handcuffs bit into her wrists and her belly pressed against her thighs with nowhere to go. "Officer," she gasped, her voice barely audible through the partition. "Something's wrong. I can't." Reeves was in the driver's seat, filling out the preliminary detention report on his MDT. His fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced efficiency. Subject, Angela Brooks. Charge, disorderly conduct, resisting lawful order. Notes, subject became verbally aggressive and refused to comply with repeated commands. "You need to calm down back there," he said without turning around. "We'll sort this out at the station." "No, please." Angela's head was swimming. The pain in her abdomen had transformed into something else. A deep, pulling sensation, like something vital was tearing loose inside her. And the wetness between her legs was spreading. Too much blood. Way too much blood. Her vision began to tunnel. The edges of the world went grey, then dark. She tried to say something, another plea, another warning, but her tongue felt thick and her lips wouldn't form words. Angela's head rolled to the side and hit the window with a dull thud. Reeves heard it. He glanced in the rearview mirror and saw her slumped against the door, eyes half closed, mouth slightly open. "Hey." His voice was sharp, annoyed. "Sit up. Stop playing games." Angela didn't move. "I said sit up." Reeves turned fully in his seat now, irritation shifting to something else. Something that made his stomach drop. Her skin had gone grey. Her lips were pale. And on the black vinyl seat beneath her, even in the dim light of the patrol car, he could see it. A spreading pool that was too large, too fast, too real to be anything but what it was. Blood. "Oh shit." The words left Reeves' mouth in a whisper. "Oh shit. Oh shit." He was out of the driver's seat and wrenching open the back door in seconds. Angela's body tilted toward him, limp, unresponsive. He grabbed her shoulder, shook her gently, then harder. "Mom? Mom, can you hear me?" His voice cracked. "Angela? Angela?" Nothing. Reeves' hand went to his radio, his fingers shaking so badly he almost dropped it. "Dispatch, this is Unit 47. I need EMS to my location immediately. Target parking lot, Riverside. I have an unresponsive female, approximately 30 years old, pregnant, heavy bleeding. Code 3, I need them now." He reached for the handcuff key, his hands trembling as he unlocked her wrists. The cuffs fell away, and Angela's arms dropped limply to her sides. Reeves caught her before she slumped completely, lowering her as gently as he could onto the asphalt beside the patrol car. Her eyes were closed, her breathing was shallow. And Officer Daniel Reeves finally understood what he had done. The ambulance arrived in 4 minutes. The paramedics worked on Angela in the parking lot for 3 more before they had her stable enough to transport. IV lines, oxygen mask, frantic radio communication with the ER about placental abruption, hemorrhaging, fetal distress. One of the paramedics, a woman named Torres who had 2 kids of her own, looked up at Officer Reeves as they loaded the gurney and said quietly, "How long was she telling you she needed help?" Reeves didn't answer. At St. Catherine's Hospital, the trauma team was waiting. Angela was rushed past the triage desk, through double doors, into an OR that had been prepped in the 7 minutes it took the ambulance to arrive. Dr. Sarah Chen, the attending OB-GYN, made the assessment in 30 seconds. Emergency C-section. They were losing the baby's heartbeat. Angela regained consciousness twice during transport, brief disoriented moments where she heard sirens and felt hands on her body and tried to ask about her baby. Both times, she slipped back under before anyone could answer. The surgery took 41 minutes. They saved the baby. A girl, 3 pounds, 9 ounces. Too early, too small, but alive. She was whisked immediately to the NICU, intubated, placed under warming lights, surrounded by machines that beeped and hissed and kept her tiny heart beating. And Angela woke up 6 hours later to fluorescent lights and the sterile smell of disinfectant. Her first sensation was pain, deep surgical pain that radiated from her abdomen. Her second sensation was confusion. Where was she? What had happened? Where was her baby? Her third sensation was metal against her left wrist. Angela turned her head and saw it. A handcuff, one side locked around her wrist, the other attached to the hospital bed rail. She stared at it for several seconds, her drugged mind struggling to process what she was seeing. She was shackled, in a hospital bed, after giving birth. "No," she whispered. The word came out cracked, broken. "No, no, no." A nurse entered, saw Angela was awake, and her face fell into an expression of professional sympathy mixed with something else. Shame, maybe, or anger that wasn't directed at the patient. "Where's my baby?" Angela's voice was raw. "Where is she? Is she alive?" "Your daughter is in the NICU," the nurse said gently. "She's stable. She's breathing with assistance, but she's a fighter. I need to see her. Angela tried to sit up, and the handcuff jerked against the rail. The metallic clink was obscene in the quiet room. She looked down at it, then up at the nurse, her eyes filling with tears. "Why am I chained to this bed? Why am I being treated like a prisoner?" The nurse's jaw tightened. "Hospital policy when a patient is under arrest. I'm sorry, I've already called the supervisor to contest it." Under arrest? Angela's voice broke. For what? For asking for help? For being pregnant while black in a parking lot? The nurse had no answer. There was no answer that would make sense of this. Angela turned her face away and wept. The Internal Affairs investigation was opened 48 hours after the incident. Lieutenant Marcus Webb was assigned as the lead investigator. He'd been with the department for 23 years and had overseen 64 officer-involved incident reviews. 61 of them had resulted in exoneration or minor disciplinary action. Webb reviewed Officer Reeves's initial report first. The narrative was clean, procedural, carefully worded. Responded to suspicious person call. Subject became verbally non-compliant and physically resistant. Subject was secured for officer safety and transported. Medical emergency became apparent during transport. EEMS was immediately summoned. The body cam footage sat unwatched on Webb's desk for 3 days while he conducted interviews. He spoke to Reeves first, who maintained that he had followed proper protocol. She wasn't cooperating, sir. She kept arguing with me, moving her hands. I had to assess her as a potential threat until I could establish control of the situation. Webb spoke to the shift supervisor, Sergeant Paul Hendricks, who backed his officer. Reeves is solid, 5 years, clean record. If he felt the situation required detention, I trust his judgment. It's unfortunate that she was having a medical issue, but hindsight is 2020. The preliminary finding was drafted on day 7. Officer Reeves acted in accordance with department policy given the information available at the time, and recommend additional training on recognizing medical emergencies. No disciplinary action warranted. The blue wall was forming exactly as it had 1,000 times before. Then someone leaked the body cam footage to Channel 7 News. No one ever discovered who. Some suspected it was Torres, the paramedic who'd asked Reeves how long Angela had been begging for help. Others thought it was one of the ER nurses who'd removed the handcuffs from a woman who'd just had an emergency C-section. A few believed it was someone inside the department itself, a younger officer sick of watching the system protect its own. Whoever it was, they uploaded 18 minutes of raw, unedited footage to an encrypted file-sharing service and sent the link to investigative reporter Michelle Carr at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Carr watched it once, then again. Then a third time, her hand covering her mouth. The story aired at 6 a.m. the next morning. By 8 a.m., it had been shared 40,000 times on social media. By noon, it was trending nationally. By 3 p.m., the police chief was holding a press conference with sweat visible on his forehead, promising a thorough and transparent review. By 6 p.m., protesters had gathered outside the police station with signs that read, "Believe pregnant women" and "Handcuffs aren't healthcare." The footage showed everything, every plea Angela made, every time Reeves interrupted her, the moment he grabbed her arms, the sound of her screaming as the handcuffs clicked shut, the blood on the back seat, the panic in his voice when he finally called for EMS. Lieutenant Webb's preliminary report was shredded. Literally. The chief called him into his office and told him to start over. But it was too late. The blue wall had held, right up until the moment the entire country saw through it. Angela hired the civil rights firm of Morrison and Associates 3 weeks after she was released from the hospital. Her daughter, named Maya after Angela's grandmother, was still in the NICU, fighting for every breath. Angela couldn't hold her without permission, couldn't breastfeed, could only stand outside the incubator and press her hand against the plastic, while machines did the work her body should have been doing for 2 more months. Lead attorney Jennifer Morrison took the case pro bono the day she watched the body cam footage. She'd built her career prosecuting police misconduct, and she'd never seen anything quite this egregious. They handcuffed a pregnant woman who was hemorrhaging. She told her team, "We're not settling, we're taking this to trial." The lawsuit was filed on June 3rd, naming Officer Daniel Reeves, Sergeant Paul Hendricks, the police department, and the city itself. The charges: excessive force, deliberate indifference to medical needs, violation of Fourth Amendment rights, assault, battery, and infliction of emotional distress. The demand: $12 million in damages and a court-mandated reform of police medical response protocols. The city's defense was predictable. Their attorneys argued qualified immunity. claiming Reeves had acted in good faith based on the information available. Officer Reeves responded to a legitimate suspicious person call, argued City Attorney Richard Denton during his opening statement. He made split-second decisions under uncertain circumstances. We cannot hold officers liable for not being medical professionals. Morrison's response was surgical. She played the body cam footage in its entirety during the first day of testimony. The jury watched in silence as Angela said the words, "I'm pregnant" 4 times, as she said, "I need help" 7 times, as she said, "please" 11 times. Then Morrison called her first expert witness, Dr. Amelia Rodriguez, a maternal fetal medicine specialist with 30 years of experience. Dr. Rodriguez, Morrison began, in your professional opinion, would a reasonable person have recognized that Miss Brooks was experiencing a medical emergency? Absolutely, Rodriguez answered. She displayed every visible sign of placental abruption, severe abdominal pain, difficulty standing, and visible bleeding, verbal distress. She also explicitly stated she was pregnant and needed medical help, multiple times. And what is the appropriate response to someone displaying those symptoms? Immediate emergency medical services. Every minute matters when a mother is hemorrhaging. Every minute increases the risk of maternal death and fetal death. Morrison turned to the jury. Not handcuffs. No, Rodriguez said quietly. Never handcuffs. The city's attorney tried to rebuild during cross-examination. Dr. Rodriguez, isn't it true that Officer Reeves isn't a doctor? That he couldn't have diagnosed? He didn't need to diagnose anything, Rodriguez interrupted. He needed to listen. She told him exactly what was wrong. She begged him for help. That's not a medical diagnosis. That's basic human decency. The courtroom fell silent. Morrison rested her case 3 days later. By then, even the city's attorneys knew they'd lost. The city settled on the 3rd day of deliberations. They didn't wait for the jury to return. The writing was on the wall, and the city attorney knew that a jury verdict would be worse, far worse, than anything they could negotiate now. $4.2 million. Paid in full. No admission of guilt in the settlement language, but everyone knew what that clause was worth. Nothing. The body cam footage was the admission. Officer Daniel Reeves resigned 4 days before the settlement was announced. He was 33 years old, and his law enforcement career was over. No department would touch him. Sergeant Hendricks took early retirement. Lieutenant Webb was demoted. The police chief announced his resignation 3 months later during a city council meeting that lasted 5 hours and required additional security. But Angela wasn't interested in revenge. She was interested in making sure no other woman would ever be handcuffed while begging for her baby's life. 6 months after the settlement, she stood at a press conference with Maya, now 9 months old, healthy, thriving, on her hip. Behind her were representatives from the ACLU, the National Maternal Health Coalition, and 3 state legislators. Today, I'm announcing the creation of the Angela Brooks Foundation for Maternal Justice, she said, her voice steady, her daughter's tiny hand wrapped around her finger. We will be advocating for policy reform, funding emergency medical training for law enforcement, and providing legal support for mothers who have been failed by the systems meant to protect them. The Foundation's first victory came 8 months later. The Maternal Emergency Response Act, known informally as the Angela Law. It mandated that all law enforcement officers in 3 states receive training in recognizing pregnancy-related medical emergencies. It required immediate EMS dispatch for any pregnant individual reporting distress. It prohibited the use of restraints on pregnant women experiencing medical crises. And it established a pathway for civil penalties against departments that failed to comply. Angela testified before state legislatures. She spoke at medical conferences. She trained police academies, standing in front of rooms full of officers and showing them the body cam footage of her own trauma. Some of them looked away. Most of them didn't, and all of them remembered. 2 years after the incident in the Target parking lot, Angela stood in that same parking lot holding Maya, who was now a toddler with her mother's eyes and her grandmother's name. A small memorial plaque had been installed near the spot where Angela had nearly lost everything. It read, "In this place, injustice became change." May we never forget. May we always listen. Maya pointed at the shiny plaque and said, "Mama." "Yes, baby," Angela whispered, pulling her daughter close. "Mama's here, and Mama's going to make sure this never happens to anyone else." She kissed Maya's forehead and walked back to her car, the same trunk, and buckled her daughter safely into her car seat. Angela Brooks was no longer a victim. She was a protector, an advocate, a force, and she was just getting started. Angela Brooks turned her worst moment into a movement. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, what change would you demand if you had the platform Angela built? And if you believe that one person's courage can reform an entire system, hit that subscribe button and share this story. Because the Angela Law didn't pass itself, it passed because people like you refused to look away.